Welcome back. Oh, let me pin this comment. Had a little technical error, and hopefully we got that covered. Thanks everybody for coming back. Let's do this again. What's
How's
up?
that? How you doing? Is that better?
I think that's good.
Okay. I disconnected my Wi-Fi. Sometimes it'll make my connection on my phone at home. It'll be worse, even though I have Wi-Fi. So I'm back. I'm here. Thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
Brother, it's a pleasure to have you. The reason why I do this is we have so many amazing people out here doing really cool stuff. And there's no real catalog, archive, and inventory of it. So I started that with the intent to have this somewhere so when people want the information or want to check someone, they can do it. So it can't be done without the guest and you being our next. I appreciate it. Thank you and welcome.
Hey, well, thank you.
So what we're going to do first is introduce yourself, tell us your name, where you're from, what you do, in short. Not long, because we're going to get into that on the back end. So just a quick intro to you, the book, and then we'll go through the questions, and then we get into your story, and then you can give us your whole deal.
The whole thing. All right. A quick summary. Yes. Hi, my name's David Barmon. I live in Portland, Oregon. From here, grew up here. Milling wood in some 14. I've been interested in the idea of urban lumber, using trees for lumber and growing trees for lumber in cities since around 2007. So been at it for a while. I own Epilogue LLC, co-own that with my business partner. We mill urban trees into lumber. We also do Oregon white oak and black walnut. So those are two things that will come more from like farmland and stuff like that.
So there's also another really cool thing you're doing now that you hadn't mentioned yet.
Oh yeah, that's right. I should promote that I have a Kickstarter out for my book, Wood from the City. Wood from the City is a book about trees through the lens, a book about forestry through the lens of urban trees. Most people live in cities, a lot of trees in cities. Most trees in cities are thrown away when they're removed or wasted as firewood. So trying to figure out how to better utilize the trees coming down from existing tree removals, but also to actually plan for the future with urban lumber in mind and have like a systematic way that you could actually plant a tree, track it, grow it, limit while it's young. It's easy to deal with defects and stuff like that in the future. Could actually be growing veneer grade saw logs in and around town and be removing stuff on a rotation and kind of fix a lot of this chaotic problems in urban forestry.
All right. So into the questions we go.
All right. Let's do
What
this.
irks you the most?
Say that again.
What irks you the most?
What irks me the most?
Yep.
Related to the urban lumber or just
Right.
life and shit?
Yep.
Like,
These are not necessarily work-related stuff.
okay. Okay.
Like, so we can get to know you.
Okay. That's a great question. I think I'll answer kind of the opposite way. I've been thinking a lot about like what makes people successful or what are things that are good, and I think
I got 30 questions.
Okay, all right.
So what irks you the most? Now, if there's nothing that irks you, that's fine too.
No, I'd say like sloppiness or people not willing to do their best. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a way to. I usually think more the glass is half full, so I'm trying to Yeah, I think that'd probably be, yeah. People aren't, and they're your best doesn't have to be my best. Like there's lots of people who are smarter and better at things than me. But I'd say when people are just kind of checked out, or there's opportunity, whatever that is, and they're not interested in it. So, and
Okay.
being mean, I don't like mean people. It's not so fun.
What makes you tick?
Uh, I would say service to others.
Okay. What is the one thing you would change about your spouse or significant other?
I'm not even going to get into that. I'm like four. That's a whole can of worms, man.
Only if you laundry list of bad stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the question
Uh,
could be asked,
uh,
right? You can
yeah.
fumble or you can
Yeah.
slam.
Yeah. I know. I know. Yeah.
Okay, so now, what would your
It's a good question. Hey, if we're having a beer around the fire at night, like, oh, I'll give you all the deets. I'll tell you everything.
so what would your spouse or significant other change about you?
I would talk less. I can say that.
Um, what is your most favorite thing to do?
Um, I like being outside. Just, I'm a big natural sciences geek. Favorite thing. Let's say mushroom hunting. I'm pretty into like it's a great place to live for mushroom hunting. I pick about 50 pounds a year usually. So chanterelles, matsutakes, pig ears,
Right.
hedgehogs, like those. Yeah, let's go with
Okay.
that.
What is your least favorite thing to do?
Least favorite thing to do. Uh, I don't know, dealing with difficult people. Those are that's a broad spectrum of things.
What word or phrase do you overuse?
Do I overuse?
Yep.
Uh, can't think of a phrase, more like a mindset. I would say that uh, I underestimate how long it'll take to do things. So I'm like, wait, that's no problem. Maybe that take on too much.
What sound makes you happiest?
I play harmonica, so that's probably yeah.
How
That's
long you been?
I was a long time since college, so since I was 19. That was if you listen to the backing track on the Kickstarter video, that's me playing harmonica on the.
And what got you started playing harmonica?
I played guitar in elementary school. Wanted to play an instrument. Saw a guy sit down at a bus stop. Bus driver sat down, was playing guitar and had a harmonica in a rack, and I was like, I want to. I'm like, I want to learn how to play harmonica. I didn't know really anything. Then I got some CDs from record store. That guy that I saw actually ended up being my first teacher, and he's like builds. He's obsessed, like one of the really amazing player, and um, yeah, that's a whole other conversation. But I used to play like 2 to 4 hours a day. My face would hurt, like my lips used to bleed. So pretty into it.
What sound bothers you the most?
Eh, the sound of a piece of heavy equipment backing up with the horn.
What is your favorite cuss word?
Fuck. It's a good one.
It is.
I use it a lot.
What
Not in the book so much.
what profession other than your own would you like to try?
Comedy writing.
Right. So you think
Working
you
on it. Working on it.
All
Got
right.
some stuff in the works after. Yeah, I fully recognize that that's brutal and usually just fail. I've done that. I've bombed. I bombed on stage
And you
for
talk
people.
about.
So yeah, yeah. I've done some open mics and it's rough. Makes regular public speaking feel easy, which is a good. I recommend it to anybody. Like, go do a comedy open mic and you'll just get your ass handed to you. It's very humbling. It's really good. It's good. It's a good experience, even though it's the worst. It's horrible. I don't know. To me, it's like I feel like I can't talk right anymore or something. It's very strange.
What profession other than your own would you like to try?
Yeah, probably that. I don't know, like entertainment industry. I'd say like yeah, writing, comedy writing, or making films or stuff like that. Yeah.
What would you like on
Yes.
your
Say that again.
What would you like on your tombstone?
Oh boy. Something about that I was a good person. I don't know. I don't have a specific. I'll have to work on that. I need like a better moniker, like in death. Like what's my?
Maybe by the end of the book, you'll find that.
Yeah, there we go. I'm hoping to have a few years left after the book's out, so I don't have to. I don't want to be in a hurry on that, but I don't.
Let me tell you something. As you know, when we do this because we love it and it's passionate, the minute someone pays you, it's
Yeah,
no, it becomes a
yeah,
job.
yeah. Oh yeah, I know. That's the terrifying thing. Like I'm enjoying this month. I got this thing that I'm making, and I'm just gonna be like, yeah. To go back to my favorite cuss word, I think on September 1st, I'm gonna be like, oh fuck, now I have to do this.
Yeah,
It's good to have deadlines. Good to have deadlines. They
right.
help you get stuff done.
What is it about your personality that drives your business?
Um, like I would say I'm just very motivated. Like, and I'm very interested in systems. I'm very interested in how things work. I'm not interested in like how to build a sawmill or like what's the two set on the blade or like I'm motivated to get this. I mean, all those are kind of part of it, but I'm very interested in like what is forestry, like what is that all about? And I'm still as fascinated today as I've ever been about like that you can actually take a tree and turn it into something and it ends up as some fancy high-end house as furniture or flooring or you can build a building
We,
out of it or whatever. What's that?
I said we hope.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
What is it about your personality that hinders your business?
I'd say over committing. That's can be your strengths or your weaknesses. So be motivated, but you get too motivated and
Yeah, over and I do that. I overcommit.
yeah,
It doesn't pay.
doesn't my my business my business partner used to joke that I drop a rock on my foot to pick up the phone or whatever, like anything, like whatever, just yeah, like now I'll let the phone ring sometimes and people leave a message, I'll call them back.
Yep. Who would you travel cross country with on a motorcycle ride?
Oh, Matt Cremona for sure. Definitely Matt Cremona.
Can he ride a motorcycle?
I don't know. We'll figure it out. Build a sawmill. Well, you get a sidecar. We're gonna get a sidecar, so it's a little safer.
Okay, let
And
me
we'll
tell
drink lots of. We're gonna do lots of coffee, maybe some Adderall. I don't know. We won't get any crazier than that. But that's.
let, let me tell you. Yes, he built a great sawmill, and one has nothing to do with the other.
I I will say this. Um, I've driven a scooter in Taipei, and I crashed it into somebody's car within like a matter of minutes. So that's about my only experience. Now my buddy's really good. I've been all over Taipei in the back of a scooter,
That,
but that's terrifying.
Um, what was your favorite concert?
Oh man, favorite concert. My first date with my wife, I took her to see Leo Kottke and Kelly Jo Phelps. Leo Kottke's like a really amazing uh, guitar player. It's kind of hard to explain his music. It's pretty like all encompassing. I saw John Lee Hooker a couple years before he passed away, so
That's pretty damn nice.
that was pretty cool. I worked with a guy that was his bass player for 6 years, so it's pretty. Um, yeah, yeah. I would say like seeing some of the old greats, um, like that's pretty huge.
Do you have any childhood nicknames?
Childhood nicknames. Childhood nicknames. Let's see. A mean one was Ears. I got that a lot.
I wonder why.
I don't know. No idea. That's why I cut my hair short. Wearing that makes it look good. Can't see anymore. No. I think my friends call me the Bluebird of Happiness. I kind of been going with that moniker. Or Palash. That's my Indian name. That's a random one. Um, yeah. It's probably some Barmon. People just call me by my last name.
When was the last time you cried?
Last week. My
Wow.
father-in-law passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
So yeah. It was tough. My wife's from Japan, so it's all going on in Japan. It's a real COVID's kind of a mess over there. So we'll probably hopefully go next summer. So it's very very weird. But man, my father-in-law he was a great guy and a complete goofball. Man, we have a bunch of videos of him. Our last trip over there, he was like playing air drums at a jazz club and just being a complete fool. And yeah, I miss that guy. He was kind of like a Japanese father to me. Like it's a little different than I think if I was Japanese, there's a lot more you kind of don't hang out with your in-laws, but like he always like I felt like he just take me out. We go get like ramen noodles at 2 in the morning. He knew like all the little hole in the wall spots and yeah, so yeah, it was yeah, definitely it's been tough.
Okay. And again, my condolences. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
What impact do you want to leave on your industry?
I want people to be more successful in their day-to-day operation. And I also want people to have a better sense of where we're going and to have a better sense of meaning and why we do what we do.
Okay. Do you have any black friends?
I do. I got one. Just to
That
tokenize you, man. No, I'm joking.
that does not count.
I couldn't resist. Oh, yeah. No, I do. My actually don't keep in touch with Keith too much anymore, but my very best friend in high school is African American. So like he drove
Okay.
me to school every day. It's like, yeah, I do. I'm Portland's a predominantly a white city. Where I live is more diverse. I've got neighbors from Kenya, Pakistan, Mexico, like all within like a block of my house. I think most people don't see Portland that way. So like, um, we don't. The African American community here was predominantly Northeast Portland. It's kind of scattered over all this gentrification and stuff over the last few years. But um, I'd say like more people, like people of color, would be like a lot of people from Mexico. So like my landscaping business, we have a few guys that like don't speak a lot of English. So like yeah, when I'm doing it, my business partner runs that business now, but sometimes I'll be like talking Spanish all day. So like I'm not even you know. So yeah. Anyway, long answer, but obviously these days those are a lot of conversations about that stuff. So happy to discuss.
Do you often see people of color in your industry?
No, no, that's one reason I really it's been really interesting that my two interviews that I've done so far about this book are with you and with Sawmill Steve. Like talking about very interesting. Really cool, by the way. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Who would you most like to have a conversation with?
Oh man. That goes a lot of different directions. Man, I don't even know. There's so many people. Depends if we're thinking about science or talking about political stuff or,
We're
I
just
mean,
talking.
Barack Obama. That's just Barack Obama. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, hang out with him.
I'm with that. I also, although I think Michelle is a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can,
I mean, shoot, I don't know. I'd sit down and talk to Donald Trump. I think it'd be fascinating. I mean, sure. Like, I,
who
different goals, different goals.
I wouldn't, but that's your choice.
Yeah. Well, there's different reasons to talk to people, right? You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, because you're right. We would talk about this in college. That people I went to an African American college, and it says, would you? And the professor asked, would you be okay with someone from the Klan coming in and talking in the school? And there was like an uproar. No, no, no. And like, wait a minute. We're having a discussion about people's mindset and how they think. Why would that be a problem for you? So you're absolutely right. The conversation in and of itself is just that.
Yeah. Well, I think people are often really scared that if you talk to somebody that has really different ideas or even ideas that might be abhorrent, that somehow that would do something to you that would be bad. And the reality is like, I mean, I think in the context of like being in the wood industry, I mean, in Oregon, that's predominantly a rural white industry. It just is. That, and I depend on people that are alt-right. I depend on people that are Trump supporters. I also work with a ton of people that are like super woke and they're all about like abolishing the police. So I have to work with lots of different kinds of people and I enjoy their company. So I think that's the thing that
Okay.
we forget about all that. So
All right. Let me clear something up.
yeah.
Abolishing the police does not mean abolish the police.
Yes, I understand.
Right.
Well, it
That's
depends who you talk to. We got some hardcore people out here, man. It depends who you talk to. There are people. It's real a spectrum, right? It really depends who you talk to. I mean, but I think my point is that um, I work with all kinds of people. I'm in a very liberal city. Like my friend group tends to be a liberal, but my mill is just a little outside of town, and it gets purple really quickly. So, and I've just kind of come to like if you can be friendly and pleasant and even just hear people out, even if you disagree, like I feel like it's more persuasive and people are more likely to listen to what I'm saying. And it's just so easy to just go for the throat and argue your point. And there, there was a one African American guy that got like 500 people out of the Klan go hang out with him. Do you know what I'm talking about? I mean, he didn't do that by saying I'm not going to meet with people. So
he did that
that's not
by
for everybody. It's not for everybody. I understand, but I feel like for me, like I'm like, well, let's just find out what makes somebody tick, and maybe we can give them some love, and they can come around to understanding that maybe some of their ideas were a little off the wall.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think if people hug more, we have a lot less issues with each other.
Yeah, yeah,
And I also think the comment you made about Sawmill Steve and I thought about that, and I didn't get a lot of thought, but you're right. In an industry that is not one that has a lot of people of color, two of the people interact with everyone else.
yeah,
There's a
yeah.
little irony in that.
Well, I also feel like it's like the kind of like an early adopter, right? If you think like of an African American guy that's like, I mean, both you guys hustle, both you know, extroverted, and you're like, I mean, you're just, it's like almost like it makes sense in a way because you're like, hell yeah, like I'm all in. And yeah, I mean, the first time I met Steve was at this Woodmiser event, and I was just like, that's wacky. Like this, there's this hip young black guy in his 30s from urban Chicago talking to all these rural guys, Southwest Washington, outside Portland, about their sawmill business and marketing, and I was just like, um, I thought it was really cool, and people were taking it in, and I think yeah yeah, I don't know. That's a long conversation, but I thought I thought it was great, and I've been following you for quite a while, and kind of same thing. You know, I'm really glad you guys are here.
Thank you. I'm sorry, would you travel to the moon?
I mean, I would, but I think we have a lot of craziness going on the Earth, so I would say like, why not just focus on what's going on here? I mean, although you know, I mean, everybody's path is different, so I don't want to say that's wrong, but I would say like, hey, I'd rather solve the tree thing. Let's work on that.
Right. What was your best business move?
I think just giving myself permission to start a business.
Okay.
A lot of failures. I mean, that's part of it, right? It has to not go well for most. Some people just knock it out of the park, and I'm always like, wow, you just get this, and you just crushed it. But that's, I mean, I don't know. It's been a hard one. It's brutal.
What was your worst business move?
I think maybe just over like sometimes maybe well that overcommitting thing. That's one thing, but I would say believing in people too much, not being realistic about what someone's skill set is or what their skill set's going to be, and kind of being like, yeah, honest about that.
Right.
Which again has also been good. You know, it's like that's again, strengths or your weaknesses. Like believing in people is a good thing, but also probably being I think like learning to be a little more confrontational. I'm naturally like a very friendly person, and I like to keep the conversation light. And I think getting better at being honest and straightforward with people has been hard. But you kind of like there's, you know, if you don't, there's no money. It's not. It's very black. You know, it's a very black and white thing. You gotta get your shit done, and it's got to be done right, or
Yeah, because
you're in trouble.
yeah, because if it's not making money, then as the
Well,
saying goes, it's not making sense. It
yeah,
has to be.
same as yeah. I mean, even if you have a nonprofit, if you're not getting donations, you don't have a nonprofit. If you don't, you know, if you're in government, it's not working. It's not. It's not a thing. So,
Yep. What advice would you give to someone just starting out?
oh man, there's a lot there. Let's try and see if I can break it down into just a few things. Um, you got to work really hard. Number one, just get up every day and get out of bed and do it. Uh, two, get really good at explaining what you do very quickly.
Have you done that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, oh, I own Epilog LLC. We mill urban trees into lumber. Also Oregon white oak and black walnut. I mean, that takes, you know, this makes sense. Messaging is really important. There's a great book called The Art of the Start by Guy Kawasaki. He like did marketing stuff for Apple early on, and a lot of you know that's a lot of it's like what do you do in 3 words? Say it in 3 words or less. So I think like messaging, communicating things, being able to you know, in 5 or 10 minutes, you should be able to break down something into a framework so people understand it. And then once they have that, then you can kind of onboard them into a more complicated conversation. But so yeah, being a good communicator, working really hard. I would say I think competency and intellectual curiosity are the two really important things. And I think those are things that we don't talk enough about in this country. Um,
Do you,
be well informed. I read, you know, I listen to podcasts. I check the news, check a variety of sources. Um, be civically engaged is important. You know, find out who your state legislator is. Find out who your city council is. Find out who you know who's your congressman. You go have coffee with them. Go to a town hall. Like you know, just be engaged. I think those things. And again, my personality is wired for that. Not everybody's going to do exactly the same thing, but I think as adults, you know, we're part of a community wherever we are. be there to help make an impact. And yeah, you don't need to wait for someone to tell you you can try something. I would say that's the other thing. I mean, you can fail you can go for it. You might crash into a wall, or and the other thing is like taking criticism from other people. I mean, you want to suss out what's their own fear or things that maybe are not good advice, but also be willing to have conversations where people give you feedback that's maybe not something that's all fun and magic. That's an important thing.
All right, now talk about taking chances. What would you say is the craziest thing you've done?
The craziest thing I've ever done that I'm going to say on here, I don't know. That's a public forum.
Keep it PG, but there's got to be something crazy you've done.
Yeah, something that's crazy. Well, this is kind of weird, but so years ago, I used to be a flight attendant for United Airlines. September 5th, 2001, I worked a flight from Boston to San Francisco. Week later, that same airplane that I was in crashed in Pennsylvania. So I was in the same airplane a week before it was hijacked. That's not the whole story, but I'll leave it at that. It was pretty weird. It's kind of a strange thing. So
Very.
it's crazy. I don't know if that's something I did. I just happened to be there. I mean, it's just kind of probability.
Do you have a mentor?
Yeah, I got a lot of mentors. Yeah, I feel really lucky. My parents had a pretty messy divorce. I had a big brother, Gary, came and picked me up every week for years, hung out for several years, and just go hang out a couple times a month. And, the first time we met, we had ice cream and I skipped rocks in a mud puddle. It's nothing. I've got a lot of mentors in, the industry that I'm in. Yeah, lots of people. Feel really lucky.
How many U.S. cities have you traveled to?
So I have no idea. I've been to 43 states.
You've been to 43 states. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I used to be in 3 cities a day, when I was flying. So it's just yeah.
That's right.
I'd be in the city and be there and visit it versus like you're there overnight or like you went, like so.
Yes, you're correct. A layover doesn't.
Yeah. A lot less. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
When was the last time you wore a tie?
Oh, it's been a while. I wear one. I kind of always thought it'd be kind of fun to go to work like wearing a suit and tie, like running a sawmill in a suit and tie, or like doing landscape construction, like stone work, building a stone wall, with a suit and tie on.
What? Now that we've finished the questions.
Yeah, those are great questions, by the way. Thank you. That was really fun. I enjoyed it.
We'd like to get into your journey, how you got into this, how's it going, how you got started with the book, how's it going. Now that we got a minute, someone asked a question about the book.
Okay.
A couple of questions we'll go over.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
I pre-ordered your book in PDF. I'm in France. The book was expensive for me due to shipping.
Yes.
Do you know how much time I should receive the PDF?
The PDF will be out about the same time as the book. So my deadline is May 2022. So if you have a specific question, feel free to shoot me just message me either on Wood from the City or on Epilogue, either of those. Just if they want to reach out, that's totally cool.
I guess
my French is putain, merde. That's about all I know. A couple, yeah. Je ne comprends français. I'd said that all wrong.
Has he ever heard of Maxville?
Of what's that?
Have you ever heard of Maxville, Oregon? Great history of a lumber melting pot of a town.
No, I haven't. I'll check that out. That's great.
Now let me tell you, I've been to Portland.
Okay.
and I drove the coast to Gold Beach.
Okay. Yep.
And I'm from Louisiana. And the coast of Oregon looks like the coast of Mississippi.
Really?
Yeah. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
So I went there for a timber framing workshop.
Okay.
And it was around the same time, I know, while I was there, was when Rick James passed away.
Okay.
So however long that was is when I was in Gold Beach, Oregon.
Okay. I'm about to look up on Wikipedia to find that out. I can't say that I'm off the top of my head.
Oh, good. All right, so let's do it, my brother.
Yeah.
So take us back high school and bring us forward.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I grew up in Portland. I went to the Jewish Community Center for preschool and kindergarten. I went to a Catholic high school and a Protestant church growing up. Kind of done with all that as an adult. Went to college in Portland, Portland Community College, and then Portland State. Started as a biology major. I was really into birds growing up. I worked at the zoo for a long time. I used to volunteered with the bird keepers. I used to help clean the penguinarium and work with all the African birds, and they had different birds kind of throughout the different exhibits. And I passed a test to get my falconry license when I was 14. So, yeah, I would say like I was very, very much into animals and natural sciences growing up. Then I switched to Japanese in college as my major because it seemed related. I took Spanish and Japanese in school, and I dropped out. Went and lived in Japan with my wife's family, my girlfriend at the time, and
Okay, wait a second. Hold up.
yeah,
Slow up. Slow up.
yeah.
So did you have the Japanese girlfriend before you studied Japanese?
No, no, no. I was taking Spanish in college, and I thought, oh, if I learn Japanese, that'd be good to have an Asian language, and Spanish is obviously good for a lot of places. So,
So how'd you meet the Japanese girl?
oh, she was an exchange student, so we met in college.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And you lived in Japan.
Well, I moved over there. Yeah, I dropped out of college, moved to Japan, lived there for 3 months, and then that really helped my language skills a lot because I wasn't there in an exchange program, so like I was only speaking Japanese all day,
So
except with my girlfriend. So like, what's that?
were you with her?
Yeah, I lived with her family. So like we were dating, and then I went over there, um, and then I worked part-time at a preschool.
So how were you dating before you all moved to Japan?
Say that again. It gets cut out a little bit. So.
How long were you all dating before you all moved to Japan?
Oh, like a year or two. Like we've been dating for a while. It wasn't like I just said, "Hey, I'm gonna come live with your family." Like,
What was that like?
real confusing when I started to really understand what people were talking about. Like, culturally, it's pretty different. Uh, yeah, there's a lot going on. Um, I mean, people are people, and people want to be happy and have fun and enjoy each other's company and eat good food. And um, I don't know, being like multicultural is really great because you can see things in a whole new perspective. It's just like, and then I think I was crazier coming back here. I was a mess. Like I just didn't know how to. I lost the ability to say no. In Japan, they just say maybe. They don't really say no. It's I mean, they're saying no, but they don't say it directly. It's like an island culture. So I think they're very okay with vagueness. We're not. We want everything to be like laid out. So I
Drop.
remember like coming back and then not knowing how to. Um, my friend would be like, "Hey, we're going out tomorrow. Do you want to go out?" And I'd be like, "Well, maybe." And in reality, I was like, "I can't," or I had something going on. But he was like, "Dude, can you just?" I remember my friend saying, "Can you just tell me what the hell the answer is?" Like, I don't know, and so that was strange. That was interesting.
Do you think that contributes to your overcommitting?
No, that's because I'm just an extrovert. That's my genes. That's in my DNA. I'm just that way. I think if you threw me, scattered me anywhere in the world, whatever, I'm just motivated um uh and like it's just I thought a lot about the last 4 or 5 years about just differences between extroverted people and introverted people. Extroverted people, and I'm speaking in general terms here, but extroverted people tend to be glasses full. I'm going to go do it. Let's sell this. We can make it happen. All good stuff, but they're not good at following through. Not good on the details. Not, or introverted people are slow to commit. They might have something really great and not know how to tell people about it. But if they commit to something, it's going to be on time and it's going to be organized and done really well. I've kind of learned to oh, those are all having a, I think the secret sauce is being somewhere in the middle, wherever you cleave. Like I mean, I'll talk till my voice goes away if you send me to a conference. Like I'm naturally very extroverted, but I've kind of feel like I've just been like, okay, it's good to know that that's not always great. So, but that's just like overcommitting. Just that's just Dave Barmon. I can't help it.
So you come back into the States. What do you do then?
Got a job at Alaska Airlines as a ticket agent, and I mostly worked in baggage service. I had a whole bunch of, I've done lots of things. I sold cars for a couple months before I went. I worked at Enterprise Rent a Car. Let's see, yeah, worked at the zoo for a long time. Um, yeah, then I got a job at Alaska Airlines. People, baggage service people come to see if their bags are damaged, missing, or late to the carousel. That was rough. That was a rough job. The people were angry. Are not happy, and you're the last guy they're going to see before they go home or go to their hotel without their clothes or their sheet music for their symphony they're playing in, whatever. I don't know. It's like pretty wild. And then I got a job as a flight attendant for United after about a year of that, and I barely, but I somehow passed the Japanese test, so I was a Japanese translator. So I did all the announcements in Japanese on the plane. It was pretty stressful job. I don't think I ever got comfortable with it, but it was good. It was really good. It was like it's like super polite Japanese, like no one talks that way in daily life too much. So help me understand train announcements better. I'm traveling over there. So
Okay. And when did you get into what you do now, the reclaiming of the lumber?
yeah, so I'll back up a little bit. I'll kind of just a little bit of a longer answer, but I think it'll be helpful. After 9/11, I got laid off. I had lots of free time. It was like October 1st, boom, you're done. They're like, done. We don't know what's going on. It's a total mess. Um, so like 3 weeks after 9/11, my wife was pregnant with our son, had free time, and my cable got turned off at the same time, so I had no TV. Um, so I just started after about a week of like trying to turn the TV on, it wouldn't turn on. There's nothing on. This is pre really. I don't even think I had internet at home. Um, and then I just kind of woke from this slumber and was like, oh, I could read. That's right. I started to read books. I got interested in economics and politics. I started working out. I lost weight, got in better shape. And I just started to think like, oh, if you could grow food, if you could grow your own food, you could have agency over your economic outcomes. Because that for me I was really intrigued. Like, okay, why did 9/11? So I kind of made this promise to myself that I would do two things every day moving forward. That I would get up every day and I would do good in the world, and two, I would ask the question, what would compel somebody to crash a plane into a building, or what motivates people to fight or to do things that are pretty horrific. And I started kind of reading all this stuff about sweatshops in developing countries, and like, where's your food come from, and all, it just gets pretty overwhelming. I read this really fun book called uh what's the name of it? I'm going blank. Anyway, I just kind of went down this whole rabbit hole, um and then I had bought a house, and then I there's a strip of grass across the street from my house, and it was kind of ugly, and the city owned it. No one knew who owned it, but people mowed it once a month, and that was about it. And I was like, oh, it'd be kind of nice to do something there. And I found this flyer from the city getting grant money to do stormwater mitigation and plant native plants. So I kind of, that's when I got kind of went down the beginning of the rabbit hole. I got interested in permaculture design. So it's like using, dip systems to kind of like improve human life, and using plants and nature to kind of make ourselves so happy, like growing food and managing water better, or like collecting water off your roof, like kind of those kinds of concepts. So, I, and then I realized, like, I got to get out of United. I'm angry. I don't want to be here anymore. Like, I'm turning into the irritable flight attendant, spilling drinks on people, throwing hot coffee in their face. No, I didn't do that kind of stuff. So then I got a job as a landscape construction laborer, and that's where I met my business partner. And then a year later, we quit and we started doing landscaping projects ourselves. And then was doing that, and then somebody got a log off a job site of mine. This guy that had just bought a bandsaw mill thing. I was like, I don't even know what that is. And I just kind of had this epiphany. He just got this log and said he was going to mill it in his driveway and turn it into furniture. And I was just like, that's really interesting. Like, how does that happen? And that was kind of the beginning. That was in 2007. So I got this guy's card. His name's Jeff Nelson. He still mills wood around Portland, Tree Cycle Northwest. And I just became really interested in that we have all this material that's being thrown away. I didn't even know how to explain it to people. I was just a bug. I couldn't let it go. And for me, I was not the woodworker trying to get the log and mill it. I was like, how do we grow the trees to make the wood? And then well, Paul, that's somebody said, what's up from South Africa? I listened to a
What's
couple
up?
South African groups that have some crazy. Anyway, so yeah, I just kind of went down this kind of rabbit hole, and eventually some arborist friend of mine was like, dude, I got this birch log. You gonna mill it or not? You keep talking about it. And I was like, I guess I am. So my buddy and I, a guy that did metalworking for my landscaping company, and he'd done some urban lumber stuff. We bought a chainsaw mill, about a Logosol setup, and some chainsaws. He was a wildland firefighter and a hot shot for a long time, so he's a total gearhead, and that's not my natural inclination. And yeah, we cut some slabs in his driveway, and man, the next thing you know, I got space, and I'm grabbing logs everywhere, and whatever, people are calling, and it's just a craziness. Next thing I know, I've got hundreds of logs, and really didn't know what the hell I was doing, and blew off a lot of good information from a lot of people, and just ended up with 1,500 slabs, and sold a lot of them at under $3 a board foot, because they were just, I was cutting everything, whatever, thought I was going to be a millionaire. But no, but I learned a ton. We had a Lucas slabbing mill when we started, and yeah, I mean, I'd get anything out of a bat anywhere, anywhere there's something. I thought it had any value, I was like trying to get it. A little more methodical now. Let's say.
Yes. So my
Yeah.
stuff. Wait a minute. What is this?
Yeah.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
So how did the book opportunity come up?
So in 2013, someone who worked for the Living Future Institute, they administer the Living Building Challenge. It's a green building certification program. It's kind of like the next level beyond LEED. Sarah, I met her, and I just had this urban lumber thing I kind of was kicking around. I think I'd gotten a reporter from Oregon Public Broadcasting to do a piece about it. And she was like, that's really interesting. And so we met and had coffee, and she said, hey, you should come speak at our conference. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. And then she said, hey, I'm I got you a spot to do a 15 minutes of brilliance. And I'm like, well, what's that? She's like, well, you speak in front of the whole conference. I'm like, I took speech in college and high school, and it was comfortable, but never really like spoke in front of like a large crowd of people. And luckily, I had a former client of mine that um, helped me write it. He does creativity coaching, and yeah, I remember. So anyway, I went to this conference, and I walk in, and there's like 1,200 people. I'm like, I can't even see the people at the other end of the room. Like, this is nuts. Um, and I got up there, and I remember my first joke landed, and I was confused because I'd done some comedy open mics, and people were just staring at me like, well, when does it get funny? So it was pretty. It was an amazing experience. Like I crushed it. I got a standing ovation. Couldn't walk around all day. I was like a celebrity. It was weird. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like, and I felt like I was able to explain what I was passionate about. And so from that day, I remember I was just standing on the stage after I had finished talking, and just like I'm doing this. I just felt like I walked into a room, and there's just wide open. Like I've been really excited about local food. I've been on a Portland Food Policy Council, makes recommendations about the local food system. Did that in Portland for 4 years. So wild foods were kind of my issue, like game, fish, mushrooms, and plants. So like very interested in a lot of that stuff. But there's a lot of people working in that space. There's a lot going on, and I just like, man, there's just not really. There isn't a thing. This isn't really a thing, and I want to be a part of that. Um, and So a couple months later, I got to do a TEDx talk in British Columbia, and I sent that to a legislator, this kind of eccentric Republican lady, and she dropped a bill. We got $400,000 in state funding to do research on growing trees for lumber in cities. So again, that's not the urban lumber that we think of, where there's a tree came down, people are calling, come get it, which I'm very involved in day to day. I'm doing tons of that. But and then I think, and then yeah, around 2014, 2015, I kind of thought like, there isn't an updated good book. Sam Sherrill's book, Harvesting Urban Timber. It's kind of a classic, but it's been out for quite a while, and I was like, there just isn't anything about this. There's not even really a lot of woodworking books. Kind of hard to find stuff. I mean, there's a ton of stuff on YouTube now, but even back then, there just wasn't. There was just. I mean, remember emailing Matt Cremona, and like he had like 2,000 views. It was his biggest video about like using a chainsaw mill. So there just wasn't much out there.
You mean 200?
What's that?
You mean 200,000 views, not 2,000 views?
No, 2,000. I
Okay.
met Matt when he didn't have. There was no.
Oh, we're talking years ago.
This is in 2013. So,
Right.
like or 2012 or 11. I remember exactly, but it was a long time ago. So I was like, yeah, I mean, if you said Matt Cremona, that wasn't, I mean, it was just like, oh, there's some guy in Minnesota doing this too. That's cool. Like who's, so, and I just was like, yeah, I want to write a book. And so I had met somebody who was a freelance writer, and so Juliet like helped edit my book proposal. So like that's the whole thing, just understanding the publishing industry and how to interface with that was a whole adventure. Like my book proposal is like 70 pages. I had like a 35-page outline in there, stuff about case studies, like the like some sample writing. And then I shopped it around, got a lot of no's, got a couple of yeses. The yeses I got from a couple publishers over the next couple of years, where I felt like I would lose control over what was in the book, and I felt like it wouldn't be as good as it could be. And also that advance for a explanatory book is not very much. So I was like, I'm not going to be able to follow deadlines, because they're not giving me 50 grand so I can take a year off. It's like $4,000. So what's that going to do? I mean, it's that's not a game changer. So
Right.
yeah. So I just kind of poked along with it. And then I think around 2000, I want to say probably 2017, 2018, I just started writing. I'm just like, okay, I'm writing the book. And I started at chapter one and I just wrote the whole damn thing. uh, and then I got the manuscript together, and then I kind of reached out to some publishers again, and I still felt like, and I just kind of decided I'm gonna self-publish. And um, I have some people helping me that work in the publishing industry, so I definitely there's a ton of stuff that I wouldn't know where to go or how to figure that out. So I feel really grateful. So um, so then I'm almost, so basically I'm done with the manuscripts on the third edit. I got like a little bit more to do the next couple weeks, and then I've got two editors now. I'm sending one to a developmental editor. He's going to go through and like just look at the look and feel of how everything's written and help with some technical writing. Then I have my main editor, Juliet. She's been with me since day one, since before I even wanted to write a book. Um, and then from there it goes to my. I'm going to meet with my illustrator. We're going to figure out what's going to be a picture, what's an illustration. And he did the sample illustrations that are in the Kickstarter. Paul's great. He did all the illustrations for a book called Practical Permaculture Design. That's great. He's an amazing illustrator and a hilarious guy. And then my graphic designer, Johanna, like she'll get like a complete package of everything. Here's all the illustrations numbered with where they go in the book. Here's all the photographs. And then here's the finished manuscript, and she'll get like that whole thing and then put it all together. And I'll do an edit of that, and then I send it to the printer, and then it's a real thing. So yeah, I still got. I'm pretty far along, but still like like you said, once you say yes, it's real. And so yeah. Um,
Cool.
but
Okay.
I'm excited. I'm excited to hand something off to other people at all, just to be able to have a team of people to help and get, so I'll turn more from being the writer to being a project manager and being the publisher in a sense. So yeah, I think it's going to be a better book, a better looking book. I feel like it'll be a book that looks like a coffee table book but reads like a how-to book, and is also gives people a framework to understand forest products, forestry, urban forestry. It's woodworking. So like there's a lot in there, and you can go lots of different directions, but I don't feel like we have that. I feel like we have lots of, most woodworking books are like, here's 5 things you can make. Or it's some kind of esoteric thing from the 70s by some like wood science guy. But I always find the sections on stacking wood or drying wood are often like archaic, and they're not very detail oriented, and you're like that, you see that picture and you're like, that's not like, there's not practitioners. So I feel like, and the other thing that's great, I'm glad that I didn't get this book out in the world with a publisher 3 years ago, because I think it's going to be a much better book today, because I know way, way, way more. I'm like a much better sawyer. Like I feel like I'm actually a capable technician on a day-to-day basis. So, I'm banging out 1,000, 2,000 board feet a day, and I know how to do that. And I know how to sell it and get it to market. So,
Okay. With that being said, are you near your yard where we can get a tour?
I think I'll be a lot more set up. Hopefully, once the book's out. I'm happy if people hit me up if you want to come visit, for sure. Yeah, I'm just south of Portland, about 30 minutes. So it's out in the countryside. It's beautiful. There's horses behind me. It's like uh,
Can we get a tour now?
tour now. I can't, I'm not at the mill. I'm at my house, but if you want, I could give you a tour of like just trees around the neighborhood. Like I can show you some stuff that I planted. No, no, not
No,
the trees, not a tree guy.
no. You would have to. Yeah, we don't want a neighborhood tour. I just want a tour of your yard.
Oh, well, it'd be about trees. So like I planted a lot of trees around. So like I ran out of room in my yard. I took over the neighbor's yard. I got trees planted across the street. So it's like, it's not, but that's fine. No, and we can do it again. I'd be happy, to do this again sometime. And like, I could walk people through like kind of all the steps of how that works, like, I like to
Cool.
say, uh, a, a sawmill business success starts in the log deck. Like having an organized log deck is the beginning of all the next steps happening. So you have something repeatable. I didn't get that. I didn't get that in a lot of my business. Like I'm just like I'm cutting slabs and stacking them. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great.
And I too was the same.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's natural. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
If you didn't do this, I didn't work at a mill. I didn't know about that. I didn't know what a green chain was. I didn't know, like, like that there's like that your unit should all be the same height and consistent. Like just the idea of what do you stack it on? Like, oh, I don't know. I threw some dunnage under there. You know, I just, just wild enthusiasm. I would say that was my first 4 years of milling wood.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, for sure. Thanks for having me.
Best of luck with the business and the book.
For sure. And I'll keep, obviously, like I'll keep people posted. Just as a quick sign off, Kickstarter's going till August 31st. People can pre-order the book. Yes, I did hit my initial 10,000 goal. No, that is not a real goal. Kickstarter recommends that you keep it low enough that you hit it early. A lot of people have been very, very confused by that. So like I'm grateful and filled with gratitude for anybody that's backed my project so far. If you're thinking about it, but you really know you're going to get the book, pre-ordering it is incredibly helpful to me. So I'm trying to raise 50 grand. I don't know if I'll get there, but that's the goal I keep saying. And anything people can do to spread the word, share pictures. If you're not as tech savvy like I am, shoot me a message. I'll send you pictures directly of the cover of the book and whatever. And I am through the moon that I've made it this far, and I've been able to connect with so many great people, and I feel like we have a great industry and great people, and I feel really, really, really proud to be a part of it. And so thanks for having me, man.
My pleasure, brother. Wishing you the best.
Woohoo! We'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
I'll see you, buddy. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.